All right, Mr. Stone, welcome to Top Summers. This is our second podcast together.
That's right.
Um,
Thank you for
I
having me.
was, I am so thrilled to have you back. I was, like I told you before, the podcast we did before. It's one of my favorite.
Nice.
Um, that's one I kind of kept going back to listen
Nice.
myself. I actually listened to it this morning.
Yeah.
Um, because it's that conversation and the conversation we had kind of offline had kind of propelled me so far, and it reminded me that at the previous podcast, you were telling I told you about a letter I was writing
Yes.
to the Boeing CEO.
Yeah.
And I was sitting on that for months,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel weird. I'm writing a letter to someone I don't know, and he doesn't know me,
Yeah.
and you're giving me a hard time in the
Yes.
podcast.
Follow up.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, and because we're talking like at one point we're talking about like numbing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like numbing ourselves, and he's like, oh yeah, keep numbing yourself, and just
Yeah.
I mean it was good with good intention,
For sure.
and 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 it was funny as hell. So yeah, and I did send a letter out to him
Nice.
just as a follow up, and but that's just a small part, right? Because our conversation actually led me to move forward with my project, creating a children's book, and right now it's in illustration,
Mm.
and I found a amazing illustrator, not the one we talked about before, but
Yeah.
I found someone that just bloom. I was blown away by his work,
Awesome.
um, and so I think the book will be done in about a month, and I hired a publishing coach or a publisher that'll help me publish the book. So it's coming.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait to see it. Especially hearing the way you talk about it, because I know who we were talking about before as far as illustrators go. And yeah, I'm just excited. Yeah. Long
Yeah,
time coming.
long time, man. It just, I
Over a year.
mean, when we talk about it was last year,
Yeah.
about springtime or
Yeah.
summertime. I don't remember. And yeah, and I actually went into a full resistance mode after that
Yeah.
for a few months. I'm just like, I have the story. I just could not get to the next step. I just could not contact an illustrator and find out what their rate is, what their work looked like. Um, I just refuse to find out like
Yeah.
what are the steps ahead of me. Um, and I wake up feeling like shit every day
Yeah.
for a few months.
What
But
what what got you out of resistance mode?
great question. Great question. Letting go,
There you go.
letting go, letting go of all the fear, letting go, not all the fear, letting go some of the fear enough I'm able to move,
Yeah.
letting go anger at myself,
Mm.
that, hey, you have this in your head. How come you're not doing this? Letting go fear of letting go of my identity, you
Mm.
know, like, hey, you're a trained scientist, right? You went to school for this, and why the hell are you not sticking to, your graduate degree?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this,
This is yeah.
right? Why the fuck are you doing this? This is weird, right? This is not normal. Like, this is not what you know. This is not what your Asian parents want of you, you
Yeah.
know. And I never even asked them. I even like I never checked in with like, hey, I want to do this. Are you okay with that? Like I just in my head like, no, no, no. You're still a failure. You're not a surgeon yet. Uh, but that's just in my head, right? Um, maybe they're proud of me or not. I don't know. I never checked in with them. I refused to find out.
Yeah.
I insisted on beating myself up with the thoughts in my head. Uh,
Sounds like sounds like you're resisting that.
yeah,
Checking in.
and yeah, and more importantly, I let go. Uh, I like I allow myself to like I welcome the idea that these books are gonna be liked by someone else. It's a weird thing, you
Mhm.
know. It's almost like before. It's almost like I hope like even like I wish like nobody knows about these books.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
it's a weird feeling.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that with my movie. It doesn't come out exactly the way you hoped, and so you know your experience is just like, man, I kind of hope like everyone just forgot that I made this. You know, like, no one ask me anymore about like, hey, when's that coming out? Where can I see that? Like, I kind of don't want you to see it, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, man, it's like you kind of deprive yourself of like you worked so hard up to that point to release it, and then like now that you're at the finish line, like all the resistance now from like just have to get out of your own way. You know, that's something
Hmm.
that I keep reminding myself all the time. Is like, you know, the life I want, being the man I always wanted to be, is on the other side of me just like let myself have it already. You know what I mean? Like stop like, you know, I had a great conversation today where we use this analogy of like if you're listening for something to be difficult, like something as simple as like you go over to a friend's house and you ask him for a glass of water, right? But if you're listening for that request to be like this big, like hairy, like awkward thing, then like you know you might ask it like, hey, like I know this is so inconvenient of me, but right? And then before you know it, the person who you're requesting from is like, what the fuck's like, what, like, they start getting the idea that it is kind of like an awkward big thing because you're making it a big awkward thing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like, it's such a belief thing. I get that it's like, it's such a, you know, like it's the old adage of like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? How it occurs for you, you know, is how it's going to land on the other person more times than,
Right.
you know?
Yes. 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 Because they
So,
do get our context.
yes, right, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a lot of letting go.
Yeah.
After I let go of that, I actually so the steps I was stuck in is like I wrote down the summary. Basically, I realized like I had the summary of my story, right? But I didn't have like page by page conversation or description of the scenes. Um, and I had back then I had like three stories in my head, and I put down like one.
Yeah.
Right. So I use the other two to like beat myself up. It's like how come I don't have that as much written on the book on my notebook as the first one. I mean, I use
Yeah.
those to beat myself up. So after letting go of that and and I just surrendered. I really surrendered. I really surrendered and decided I'm not gonna resist anymore. You know, and I just see like resistance shows up in many forms, right? And I just like I'm gonna just gonna sit with my resistance for as long as I can, and
Yeah.
actually finished six stories in 1 week.
Wow.
I just kept writing. I just kept writing, and I have like six stories, and I'm just happy with them. And so right after that, I started looking for illustrators. I went on Fiverr, contacted 12 illustrators, and I found one that's just amazing, just talented, and his work just like you look at his work, you know he's different than anyone else.
Yeah, that's it.
He's a goose among the ducks.
Yeah.
You know, nothing against the ducks, but you know, just he stands out. Yeah.
What's great about that too is being that they're children's books, so much of it is weighed on the quality of the illustration.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
hearing you talk about it, it sounds like it's, you know, it's bound. Like if you like it, then there's an audience that will like it.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I learned more and more is like, there's an audience there for everything, you know?
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And he's just, you know, and the story in my head when I was looking for illustrator is like, you know, it's everything we talked about. I was like, I'm not going to find a good one, you know, because the good one wouldn't want to work with me.
Yeah.
Or the good ones are going to be super expensive, right? Yeah. The good ones are going to have a personality, you know, because they're good, right? The good ones, like, where do I find the good ones? Where do people find the good ones? I'm just not going to find them.
Yeah.
And I found one. And he was the easiest one to work with.
There it is.
He wasn't even, and the rate is super reasonable.
Yeah.
You know, like there are people not even have his talent of charging more than he did.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, and just like, okay, again, like it just teaching myself, like it's just old stories in my head.
Yeah.
You know, he just comes along easy. So,
yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, and the reason I'm talking about this is because like whenever I'm doing this, I'm just like, you always popped out in the back of my head. I was like, man, like I'm just doing a book. Stone did a whole movie, you know, and I'm just like, every time I think about that, it just give me inspiration and courage to move along. I'm like, dude, I'm just making a little book. Like and Stone did the movie, and I remember not long like after our podcast, you actually finally abandoned your movie, right?
Yeah, right.
It's an inside joke,
yeah,
right? Because we talk about how a movie or an artwork is never finished; it's abandoned.
Right. Yeah. You could spend forever on it, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, talk about that. I mean, I went to the premiere, but I never get to talk to you about what was that. What's that like for you?
What was
finally,
yeah,
you know, show it to the world. What was the last mile? I mean, what's the last, you know, bit of journey on that?
It was wild, man. It was like I would equate it to the same kind of like cringiness as if I just like got up in front of a room of like 100 people and just like took off all my clothes. You know, it had that same kind of just like visceral, like, oh God, like, fuck, right? And I get that my context around it could be, you know, I'm so grateful for this conversation right now because I'm learning so much about that question. Just like triggered a whole like epiphany around just like fucking own it, right? Like, yeah, this is what I look like. You know what I mean? And just, yeah, like I found myself in that moment really like apologizing for it, you know, and like giving all the reasons to why, like, oh, I was this old when I made it. And that's why there are the errors there. And no one else sees the errors, right? Like everyone had the experience that they had, but really I'm the most critical one of it. If I can just, again, get out of my own way, you know? So like going forward, you know, it's interesting. The last couple of months I've been working with a sales agent to distribute that film because, you know, all the production stopped since COVID's been a thing. And so it's a seller's market right now. I've been sitting on this movie and I'm realizing how perfect the timing has been up to this point for me to be able to sell it. No one else has a movie to sell because all the other movies have stopped being, you know, the market is bare, right? So if I show up with this movie, everyone's like, where did this come from, right? it all just comes down to my own context where I'm like, I'm about to give you the hidden gem of the, you know, create it for them that way. And then like, you know, yeah, all the intention and all the goals that were created at the start of it, like it's in my listening that they'll be created, like standing in the future. That's where the magic is, you know, and I'm standing that this movie gets sold by end of August, and just like dreams fulfilled, right? Visions, like the next one's around the corner. I'm working on the next one. I'm already working on the next one. Fuck. Man.
I mean, did you enjoy The Last Mile? Was it hard? Was it fun? What was that like for people? Because you know, it like most people who are listening to this, they will never go through this journey, right? They'll never understand the struggles, the dark places artists go to create and release a piece. You know, well, and I don't even know yet, you know, because I haven't released my book. What was The Last Mile like? Like, what did you have to go through up till the point that you're sitting with us at the premiere, showing the movie to us? Were you having fun? I mean, what was going on in your head? I want to find out.
In the purest sense of the word, like truly the final stretch, you know, that is to say, like putting the finishing touches on it in post all the way up through the premiere, I would say truly, and I think it's perfect when I say this word, it was agony. It was it was fucking brutal, dude. And I fucking stuck for it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, because like I got to have an experience there of like really, like I leveled up by facing the agony and overcoming the agony, and like I gained another notch where like it has nothing to do with me versus other people there, but I'm present to how like you said a minute ago, right? Like a lot of people don't have that experience of like putting themselves out there, like going through the painstaking work to make a feature film and then put it out there for people to see. And like, yeah, man, it truly was agony. And I would also equate it to like, if I was a stand-up comic and I went out on stage and I like bombed on stage, right? And like, right up until like, you know, you're in the middle of bombing, like you get off the stage, and I've never done stand-up, but my understanding of bombing on stage is everyone's like, yeah, I mean, that sucked, but like, that's like, if that's it, then like they get back up, right? They do go back up on stage, and it's like, it's not so bad. It's just, you know, like you desensitize yourself to it. So in a very real way, like I had to dip my toe. I had to belly flop into like, you know, Arctic waters, and like, sure, it might have sucked there in the moment, but like when I got out, I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, let's go again, you know? So it's all part of the process. It's all perfect. It's all, you know, I got to trust the process, right? And part of the process of making something creative is the release of it, you know? So, yeah.
I'm just so fucking proud of you, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Heroic. Yeah. And I enjoyed the fuck out of that film. Yeah.
Right. I appreciate that.
Not many people get to say that, hey, I made a film,
right?
You know, and it's just inspiring. I'm like, okay, come on, Stone made a movie. You're just doing a 36-page book. Come on, dude. But I'm not using that to beat myself up. I'm using that as an inspiration. It's like, that's possible. He created something out of nothing.
Yeah,
you can do it too. You know, that was it.
Yeah.
So,
appreciate you. You know, I didn't realize that. You know when you like, you know when you're a little kid, do you ever do the thing where you mark your height on like the door frame?
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather, yeah.
Or like whenever you get a new dog or a pet or something, and like you're with it every day and you don't notice that it gets bigger. And then one day, like you're away for like a week or two and you come back and you're like, damn, that dog's fucking huge. Or like, man, did I grow so much in that last year, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like having a moment right now where I'm kind of recognizing the like the mark on the door there, you know, and that like I kind of just I wasn't really present to like just the journey that I like. It's when this movie is distributed, it will be complete. It truly will be complete.
Mm.
And I've just been like, I don't know, I haven't been present to that. That like the journey is like it's right fucking here, you know. Anyway,
Just amazing, man.
yeah, man, what a trip. So what's on the horizon for you after this book? You've got 6 stories.
Um, yeah. So, like we talked about, all the characters are okay. Where do I even start? 6 stories. They're all independent.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I have 5 stories, but one
yeah.
is super long that I'm gonna break it into 2 books. Right.
It's
There's like,
kind of sounds like you're gonna do like an Avengers, like put all the characters in one book at the end there.
yeah, but it's not happening yet. But maybe on the 10th one, it will happen because we talk about it. But all the animals are from the same universe, right?
Yeah,
I actually created all the character setting. You know, like what are the animals like? What do they behave like? Number one, they don't eat each other, you know, because that would suck.
yeah,
Um, right, some background, just like background rules for these animals, and so um, um, yeah, I originally had like 3, and I came up with one more, and this year around March, uh, and I went to like a meditation ceremony, right? And after that, uh, during the ceremony, I saw my own death, and it was peaceful. I wasn't like traumatic or
yeah,
sad. I was just like I'm gone, and I start seeing um, like my family. I was watching my family on the sideline,
yeah,
and um, what I thought was important to them wasn't really that important. I thought it was like in my role, one of my most important is to make money for the family, right? And of course, I have life insurance, so if I die, they get a big fat check, right? So
yeah,
I see that they receive the check and no one is happy about receiving that money, right? So it's not about the money, right? So I start seeing everything around it, and the impact I have on my children. My presence is important to them. It's important to my wife. It's important to their happiness. It's important to their joy. So I came out of that experience. What I wanted to create for the kids is it's all like around joy, fun, and love and compassion.
yeah,
And that's really what the first 4 stories are about. It's joy, compassion, fun, just like letting kids to be kids.
yeah,
But after that experience, I realized when I was young, my grandmother died,
mm,
and it was such a hard experience. And I remember my mom woke me up in the morning and told me like, "Oh, your grandmother passed," and we're close. So she like finally she drove me, and she was in the casket, and I went to see her, and I just started crying because at that moment it becomes very real, like she's dead, and
yeah,
I understood even at a young age like she's dead, like I get it, and it become real, and I was just crying for like an hour,
yeah,
and nobody talked to me, nobody talked to me, nobody. Um, I don't think they know what to say either. You know,
yeah,
just like they're in the middle of it. I mean, it was my father's mother. I mean, his mom died. I mean, that's traumatic. right?
Yeah.
However close I am with my grandmother, they're 100 times closer, right? So I don't know I don't think he knew how to process it either. So anyway, nobody talked to me, and so I started writing a book for children if their mom passed, you
Mm.
know. So I created a story around that.
Yeah.
Just a family coping through mom getting sick, eventually passed,
Yeah.
and what's that journey like. So I put it into a story.
There's a quote by Peter Jackson,
Mm,
and he says that the most authentic form of filmmaking is to make a film for yourself.
mm,
And it sounds like you've made a book that young Yinting needed at that point in the world, at that point in his life.
yes.
And I can only imagine that that book is going to, how that's going to touch and impact, you know, countless children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I acknowledge you for putting that in the world, because that's powerful.
Yeah. I thank you for that. I did
Yeah.
not see that coming. That was never in my intention to, because it's dark.
Yeah.
It's it's sad, and it's wasn't my intention, but I do want to take care of the children. Like if it like it's I'm creating it so if a father like me, when that tragic happens, and it's happening every day, right?
Right.
Let's not kid ourselves. Like
Right.
mom passed and leaving young children behind all the time,
Yeah.
right? And now the fathers who are not usually the one who's taking care of the emotions of the kids, he needs to start paying attention to that. How does he do it? And in my vision, it's like, well, now at least you have a tool. You have this book to
Right.
help you a little bit, you know, like 1%, giving you 1% boost, then, you know, compared to what you have, maybe it was nothing, right? So this could be something to start with. You can use this as a conversation before go to bed. Let's go through this. Hopefully the children will sleep a little better at night. That night, you know, that's my intention. So yeah, that's
Did
where
you
I am.
did you have the experience of like getting complete with that moment when you wrote the book?
Yes. Well, yeah, yes. Because as helpless as I was as a little kid when my grandmother passed, well, number one, the crying was a good release,
Yeah.
right? It was such a good release, and I cried uh, many times, and each time was very intense, right? But that was a
Yeah.
good release, so I appreciate that process. But just
Yeah.
nobody helped me understand what is going on. That was, you know, that's in my memory.
Right.
But since then, I have my grandfather passed a few years ago, and I had a very complete experience with that. Um,
Hmm.
um, like, because I understand what I get is like when our loved one pass, there is always regret,
Hmm.
right? So uh, there's always regret. There's always um, regret a lot of things that didn't happen. So when I was with my grandfather, every time I always make sure, like every time I left him, like, I make sure I said everything I want to tell him, like
Yeah.
how much I loved him, and how much I respected him, how much he impacted my life, you know, how he helped making the person I am today. Um, um, so I had a very when he died, I actually, when my mom called me, She's like, oh, your grandfather's not doing well. He was in Taiwan. I was in LA. I flew back. Like I get that call. I booked the flight. I flew back, and he was still there. He wasn't dead. Like, but he was like out of no conscious. But he was waiting for me. So I went. I said my goodbye. I kissed him. I sat with him a while, meditate with him, and and he was still there. And so I called my mom. It's like I felt his spirit has already left his body. It's a weird thing. Like I felt that his body there's still like biological activity going on.
Yeah.
But I called my mom, and like I felt that his spirit has left his body.
Mm.
So I think I'm complete. And and I didn't call my mom. My mom was outside the door. What I'm talking about, she was outside the room, but I was inside the room. So I went and talked to my mom, and I said I felt his spirit has left his body. So I left, and I went on the flight going back to LA. It was like coming back, saw my grandfather, and flying back, because my family was still in LA. And my mom called me when I was on the taxi to the airport, like about 15 minutes later. It's like, your grandfather left, like passed.
Yeah.
You know? So in a way, I feel like he was, and I heard this from many people, like their loved ones it will wait.
Yeah.
You know, waited for me to come back and waited for me to leave. And that was, it was a weird thing, but it happened to me twice. And other loved ones, like elder, same thing. After I left, done. Like went flat.
They were waiting on you.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, but I felt it. I was like, but it's just, the spirit is not in his body. So I felt complete. So that was a complete. So yes, answering back to your questions, I felt like I had a complete experience with the life and death cycle.
Yeah.
Otherwise I wouldn't be able to create that story. It will be, or the story that came out wouldn't be loving, like compassionate. It will be traumatic. It will be dark, but it wasn't dark. It wasn't dark at all. It was comforting, So yeah. And anyway, during that 1 week, I kept writing, and this was the last one. And the last story was, yes, when I was creating it was dark. I have to connect to all the death I have faced in my life. And I was just, and it, like, universe worked in such a mysterious way. It was like helping me to create this story, because at the end of my fourth story, I was gonna go fly back to Taiwan, because during that time already, my family has been in Taiwan since like January this year. So I was gonna go home to see my kids, but because of COVID, my flight was canceled. My flight was canceled, and I couldn't find another flight for another month. So I fell into this deep depression, because I couldn't see my family. I was just ready to like see them in like 48 hours. Yeah. And then my flight was canceled. And it was like, and you won't have another flight in like 3-4 weeks. So I fell into like a depression almost. Like, sadness, profound sadness. But that really helped me to create the story, because I get to connect it to being sad in a dark place, being lost, being separated from loved ones. And I was like, at the end of the experience, I was like, oh, thank you, universe, for like knowing this is what I need at the moment.
Right.
And I actually got a flight much sooner than 3 weeks. So,
yeah.
So I was like, okay, thank you. I mean, someone's been helping me. So yeah, that was experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to see this book. I remember you telling me where the have you said aloud where you got the idea for your books?
No, just it's meditation. Yeah,
Meditation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's like, at the beginning it was very cerebral, right? Like I told you the story. I was telling my wife,
Yeah.
uh, like how many, like there's a lot of children's book, like I genuinely hate reading. I was like, I can't believe they create this shit for children. I just cannot believe. Uh, so, and this morning I was riding my bike to the office here, and I have this profound gratitude for the book that I really hated. It was about this book of a like two animals, and there was this cow who was always working. He was like working the farm, right? And there was this other animal who's like always playing in the pound, enjoying life and all that, right? And just laughing at the cows, like, "Oh, you stupid fuck! Like I'm having fun here, and you're working." And at winter, the cow has a nice house. It's burning firewood inside, and the other animal is just like shriveling outside, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the book for like a 2-3 years old. That was like I'm like, that's a why are we telling children these stories, right? Is that even true? Are you saying that people cannot have fun and make money at the same time? Or are you saying that people cannot have fun doing what they love and enjoying a good life? What kind of message are you sending here? Like you have to like suffer and do like a boring routine work just to get by. And when you see your friends suffering outside, you're not inviting them indoor to enjoy your big house with you. You have more than you need.
Yeah.
What kind of fucked up story is that? Right? I'm like, I hate it wholeheartedly. Like it's so binary, right? It's so
Yeah.
simple-minded.
Absolute.
And it was like, come on, like kids are like a open canvas, and now we're just putting a stroke on there. It's like, okay, we're putting a stroke in the middle, black, wrong and right, black and white.
Yeah.
That's it. We made the decision for you, right? And I hated that book. But now I have this profound gratitude for that book, because without that book, I wouldn't be on this journey. Is with that book, I told my wife, it's like, I can't believe how many like shitty children's book are out there, either with like bad illustration. Some books, the illustrators, like you can tell they just don't give a fuck. It's like the stuff they put on there. It's like, okay, yes, they get paid $20 for this. I see that. They need to get by. But and I don't blame them, right? But it's the person who produced that book don't care either. The publisher don't give a fuck either. They just want something there to fill the space. And at least that's what I think. Maybe that's not true. Maybe they think that's a fucking masterpiece, but I don't see it. So anyway, I said, and my wife was saying like, oh, why don't you create your own? I don't think she was sincere. I don't know how sincere she was. Maybe she was just poking fun at me. It's like, oh, you think they suck? Why don't you do it yourself?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I'll do it myself.
All right then.
Yeah, but it was just an idea, and from that idea to today, like it was 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. Took me a year to have that conversation, a profound conversation with you about stories, like because you're a storyteller, right? It took me a year to talk to a storyteller about how to create stories and what's the elements of good stories and whatnot, and then another year to now. So anyway,
You should get that book framed. The one that The one that started it all. You should get that. You should put it on your study or something.
I don't know if I can find it. It's buried in a warehouse, bottom of a box somewhere. But yeah,
Yeah.
but I've read it in my mind.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, it's. So, what projects are you working on right now?
In addition to distributing this movie, working on a TV show at the moment.
Mm.
TV show is centered around a father-son relationship.
Oh, nice.
It's
nice.
It's,
oh man.
I'm hesitant to talk about it, but I think I might just say fuck it and just talk about it.
Oh, I'm honored.
But the gist of it is, oh man,
I'm feeling naked again.
Well, I'm certain in the quality of the story. It's really just like letting the cat out of the bag kind of thing. But the name of the show is called Challenger, and it's about this father and son who live out on the frontier. I want you to imagine for a minute that there's like a universe. All of the worlds, all the parallel worlds that exist and everything are stacked vertically, and they're connected by an elevator. You hit the elevator, you hit the up button, and you go up a world, right? You start off, let's say you're in a world that resembles New Mexico. And then you walk and you find an elevator in the middle of nowhere, doors open up, you hit the button, you go up the floor, and you open it up, and now you're in the jungle, right? Works that way. Mm-hmm. And each world has its own hierarchies and societies and rulers and all that stuff. And so there's the king and queen at the very top of all these worlds. And there's a Messiah is born. Due to this prophecy, this Messiah is being born, and the name of this Messiah is Oberon, is being born to this king and queen up at the top. And so the queen goes around to the very bottommost world where it's the most brutal, and she finds the best fighter, the best fighter that will be able to protect her new offspring. And she pulls him and rescues him from the bottommost world and brings him to the opulent top world, right? And she tasks him and says, look, if you're willing to take this on, you can live with us up here in the top world if you will do whatever it takes to make sure that my son is safe and be his primary protector. You will protect him from everyone. And the name is Sam. Sam is the name of this protector. And he says, all right, you have my word. I will protect this boy. And so pretty soon he realizes that this son, this Oberon, this infant baby is actually due to be a martyr. A martyr, not unlike, I'm not a religious person, but not unlike a Jesus figure, right? Born to die kind of a thing. And he realizes this after he's made this connection with this new baby, right? He's been guarding him for months and months now. He's kind of grown, he's like grown attached to this young boy. And when he learns that the fate of this boy is to be sacrificed for the good of the world, he kind of has this change of heart a little bit. And he's like, well, my task is to protect this boy from everything. And so he takes the boy, he kidnaps the boy, and really, in his eyes, he rescues the boy and takes him back down, takes the elevator all the way back down to his home world, and sends the elevator back up, and goes into hiding, builds this cabin, and raises this son as his own boy, names him Caleb, renames him as Caleb. And they just shepherd these sheep, and it's a very quaint life, but it's a very proud, they just have each other. And so the story begins when we just see father and son shepherding sheep out in the middle of this frontier, and somebody finds the boy out in the middle of nowhere and does this test to see if the boy is this Messiah that they've all been looking for. In fact, it is. This young boy is Oberon, the Messiah. Caleb goes back to his dad and says that there's some strange man talked to me. He said that I was like this Messiah figure, and immediately Sam takes Oberon and they go off and they go into hiding, and he's going to try to keep him safe and hide him at all costs. Does not tell him his true history. Right? Eventually the boy gets kidnapped, The boy gets kidnapped and gets taken back up to fulfill his rightful task, his duty to be sacrificed on the top floor, unbeknownst to him. And so the story is, the bulk of the show is that Sam, which is named after the avenging angel Samael, which is the retriever of souls. We just shortened it to Sam. Sam's job is to go through he goes to the elevator, he goes up a world, and then he has to vanquish the mini boss ruler of that world. Once he vanquishes them, right now we're playing around with the idea that he has to take out their eye. He has to pluck an eye from them, put it in a little receptacle bin in the elevator. It goes back in and accepts the eyeball, and it's like his token that he now gets to go up another level. So he goes up the level, finds the boss, kills the boss, takes their eye, puts the eye in the slot, and goes back up the next level. And he is the challenger. He's going to get his son back. So that's like the general structure of the show. Challenger. Yeah. I'm so excited about it. It's such a
fucking great story, man.
Right? Yeah. I have this image of the very last, the last season, right? He's there with his son, and the son's fate has been explained to the son, and the son when Sam finally reaches his son, and his son has the crown and the child emperor robes on and everything. Sam is just like crawling on hand and knee. He's got 9 arrows in his back, and he's vanquished the last boss, but he's like crawling on hands and knees to like get to his son. And his son is like, look, I get why I was born to this world, and I'm okay with it. Like, I'm good with it. And Sam, just like try as he might, is like, just come back with me. It can be like it was before. And his son is like, stop trying to get me. Like, stop trying to come for me anymore. Like, I'm complete. Like, I so appreciate you. I love you, Dad. You're my dad. And this is my destiny this way. So I'm going to go sacrifice myself. And just that like moment, that just like heart moment of like this, the dad doesn't know anything else to do. He doesn't know anything else than to go rescue his son. And like, man, does that just like, it hits me now talking about it. And like, fuck, is that just going to work? God damn it. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, right.
It's getting to me too. It's a fucking great story.
That's going to work. Yeah.
I just, man, I can't wait to see it.
That's it.
Is it like TV, but what kind of TV? Like real actors or animation or?
Well, that's a good point. Well, so the actors that we are thinking about, one of the actors is I got to do a documentary on the UFC fighter Cowboy Cerrone this year. I got to stay with him at his camp in New Mexico. And I talked to him about a loose premise where a fighter has to go up through each level, each world and everything. It was in the very early developmental stages, but he wants an acting career because he's retiring from being a fighter in not too long a time from now. And so he's on board with it. And on top of that, he also has his own son, his own new young son, Daxon. So there's already the motivation there. Plus he is literally a fighter. He gets the brutal world. It's like there's a quiet confidence about him, but it's just like he can bring the fire about it. And he's a superstar at least in the MMA world. But I think it'll be enough for him to pull an audience and potentially get this greenlit, or at least have a pilot funded. So yeah, studios might want their own lead, but who knows? You know, I think it can work. I think it will be great.
Man, I love the story. It's gonna be fucking.
It's gonna be great.
What role are you gonna play in the movie? I mean, in the TV.
I'm gonna direct it. Yeah. Oh, what am I?
I know. Right.
Maybe I will play something on camera, dude. People keep telling me so much. Everyone's like, "You should be in front of the camera, man. You should like, what do you know, that Instant Epic show." You know how many people reached out saying like, "Why aren't you in front of the camera more?" And I don't know, man. You know, I think I'm soon to go into this ceremony on the 24th, and part of the intention is reinvention, and let go of any old identities of who I think I need to be or who I've been up to this point. And I'm just open to just like, I'm just open. You know, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, we'll see. I'll carve a role out for myself, and I'll rush.
If you remember the tail end of our podcast last time. You said you gave yourself permission.
Yes, I did.
as big as the rock.
The Rock. Yes, I thought about that today.
And I said, which rock? I'm like, I was thinking about like a real rock, like which rock?
Yeah.
Like the monument rock, like which rock? He was like, oh, the rock. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
Dwayne Johnson, man.
I totally see that too, man. Just
Yeah.
and it's not about people what people tell you. It's really what you tell yourself.
Yes, right. The permission you give yourself, 100%.
Yes. Yeah, I was listening to that. I was like, yeah, I at some point we all have to give ourselves permission to do certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see you in your TV. You'll be.
I'd kill it. You already know.
It.
You already know. Man.
Maybe you can play the grown-up son.
The adult, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Who knows, man? Why not? I can create it however I want, you know?
Exactly. Tell us about the stuff, the instant movie story creating thing.
Yeah. The instant epic story generator.
Yeah.
The show or the generator?
Both. Like why you did it, what you did with it. It was very like, but I want to say like it was very inspiring. It was so much fun to watch.
Nice.
It was like, fuck, this guy's a genius. Like this is, like I love what you did.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It really was a practice in just like, I just found myself getting perfectionistic about stuff. And so when I built it inside of the container of just doing a story, like doing just like it not needing to be perfect, right? When I built it inside of that kind of a container and got to do something that I know very well, which is like a story arc, right? Then I just got to just rely on just having the most fun that I could, telling a story to myself, really. It's just me in this room. Obviously, I'm telling it to what I learned from that is that the more fun that I can have, the more fun the audience will have watching it. And just how true is that in a, everything context, how you do one thing's how you do everything.
Mm.
So yeah, man, I learned a lot about it. I realized also by the end of it that I was kind of approaching it from like, it became kind of like a chore. So I did 10 of them total. And I've kind of, the way I've been relating to it recently is like if I'm putting my network executive hat on, then the show, like I gave it its one season run, and it just hasn't been renewed for another season yet. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean, it's easy to pick up, right? It's easy to jump back into it. It's just a matter of, yeah. It's just it's recommitting to it,
Yeah. Yeah, I like how you see it too, because like what we said before, sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to do something, and sometimes you have to give yourself permission to end something.
Yeah, right.
So you can do other shit.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future you have guests like other.
Oh, great! That's a great
young director like you or storyteller like you. Just like, come on, I'll challenge you to do a story with me.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, I love that.
I tried it. I couldn't do it. I was like, okay, let me try the generator thing.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, oh fuck, this is hard. I can't do it. Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun seeing you do it though,
Well, there's a course I'm offering at the bottom of that page there. And on my website, you scroll to the bottom, there's a little button. There's a course. If anyone's listening that's interested, there's a course that teaches you the hero's journey through video.
Mm.
So that's available. But
yeah,
man.
Send me a link after we finish talking. I'll put it under the podcast so people can see it. Yeah, and for the TV stuff, what's the timeline? I mean,
so we're closing in on we have a rough draft of the pilot script. So it's really just dialing in that pilot. I got to do I'm looking forward. I get to do a pitch deck, or I build out the entire pitch deck of everything. First thing is I just need to complete the movie distribution, all the key art and poster, and we're changing the title. It was Noise and Color. The sales agent gave some really good feedback. It is now called Exodus. It's just simple. It says what it is, right? It's a journey to an exit. It's a journey to a door. So it makes a lot of sense in that sense. And so it's first things first, right? Let me finish what's on my plate. And, the beauty of it too is I'm bringing team to the pilot development. So I've been working with a writer who's been, we generate an outline together, and then he literally writes it up in a script format. So I'm not doing it by myself, right? I'm asking for help, and it's nice to have a partner in it, that it can still make progress, and it's not up to me. It's not up to the overwhelm that I would have,
I love it. I love it.
That's everything. And that's really
stay true to the story, but you're not attached to yourself doing it. You're bringing other talents to bring out the stories, which is your purpose.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah. It's a challenge, though, I'll say. I'm resistant to teams sometimes, but that's the opportunity I have to grow. Trust that it'll get done, and something will arise out of it that I didn't plan on, and that's even better than I could have pictured, So
that's definitely the right approach.
Yeah.
I recently had a mini breakthrough around that. Same thing. One of my book, it wasn't a hero's journey. It was just a simple story that's just flowing with love and fun between a mother and a daughter.
Yeah.
And I love that story because I when I created that story, my daughter was in there, right? And it was about this little lamb who's like asking her mom, like, what is love? Because she's so young, but she hears like, I love you every day, right? Because it's like, what do you mean by what is love? And the mom's like, okay, I'll show you. So she just took her out for in the forest for a day of like, I'll show you what a love is. And she get to experience all that. And she gets it. Like, she's like, okay, that's love. And at the end of the day, like, she got it, but she's like, I want more. So she told her mom, like, Mom, I want more love.
Yeah.
So the mom just opened the door, and all her siblings just actually came back from school, and then they were like, jumped on her, like, we love you. And she just got piled out like underneath or under the lamp, and she's like crawling out, and she's like, oh, that's too much love. Just, it was too much, but it was joy, and she felt loved. But it was she was overwhelmed with love, right? So that was the end of it. And I love that story, but it's so planned. So the other day I was meditating, and I had a conversation with a guest I recently had a podcast, Sarah Emmett. She's an amazing musician, and her lyrics, she has not just the best music, but her lyrics are just out there, just outstanding, amazing. Her words are so precise, just like cuts, like find its way to your heart and just stab you in a good way, So I was like, maybe I'll ask her if she wants to like create poetry for the book. She'll be creating text for the books, and she said yes. And I just got the text she created for me for the book. I was blown away.
That's awesome.
She made the story 100 times better.
Yeah.
Not only she got the gist or the context of the story, like she got it, she like dived into it and just made it so yummy.
Yeah.
I was just blown away. I was like, oh, I'm so glad. But when I reached out to her, like when I was writing the message, like, okay, you're stupid to ask, because she might say no. She's like, I don't do this shit. I'm a music writer. Or she's like, I hate your story. I can't do this. Just in my head.
Yeah.
But
And look what happened. You took action anyway, and now you're,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And I realized it's just me telling myself a shitty story again.
Yeah.
So that works,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. So the TV and your movie, man,
That's it.
your life is full.
Life is so full right now, man.
Yeah,
Always been full.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You still thinking about doing music videos?
I am doing music videos. Yeah, man, it's been interesting. I find myself wanting to like push a lot of different, is it YouTube? Is it music videos? Is it this TV show? Is it feature films? What is it, right? And I get that it's like, there's some flexibility there, and that I can sprint at TV show for a minute, and I can also sprint at this. And at any time in my life where I really have the experience of like, I'm like fucking cooking with gas, it's when I just focus on one thing. You know what I mean? I just focus on, when I was doing Instant Epic, it was every day I was so like, I'm going to make the opener right now, right? I'm going to animate the opener and have this fire thing come up. Like, how sweet will that be, right? And it's like, I just like got so excited. I just enrolled myself continually, and like, I could just see it there. And like, before you know it, like it was a thing, right? And then like, it's almost like the thrill wore off for me over time, where like, I got to see it complete, and I did a couple episodes, and then it was kind of like, well, what else? Like, what else is there, right? And now, I'm giving up my like making myself wrong or beating myself up that I didn't like continue to stick with it, because like I did it, like I made it, and it's a real thing, and like, now it's time for another thing,
Right.
But yeah, it's like I'm seeing the potential to just like slow down and like focus on one thing, and just like do that impeccably, like see that, unfold it to its fullness, and then from there, like, reap the benefit of that. And instead of like it's this almost like FOMO, right? Like, well, I want to do this because I don't want to miss out on that, and that also seems fun, and that, like, yeah, it's like you're at 7-Eleven and you run down the line of the soda things because you want all of them, and then your drink kind of tastes like shit a little bit, Yeah.
Where do you think that came from? The like beating yourself up, when you said for like the instant story generator thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such an awesome thing you did, but somehow you found a way at some point to use that to beat yourself up.
Well, it's like, man, it is truly a core belief of mine that I can do whatever, like I set my mind to, right? And it's like, I can go create whatever I want to go create. And that I'm talented and smart enough, and I've got a good enough head on my shoulders, and I've been raised with the right values, and I've got the support systems in place, and Like, I'm set up, right? I'm set up to go make a huge impact, like The Rock-like impact, right? And I see how its consistency, like I beat myself up because like, oh, it's a great idea and I executed it well. But I just wasn't consistent about it, right? It's like I beat myself up. The question you asked me was, where do I think that comes from? And I think for me, it's like, it's knowing that like, well, if I quit now, then it's not gonna grow if I quit right here. But do I stick with it because I should, or do I find the thing that I'm really excited about and I cannot wait to get to that thing? Because deep down, I know that that's the thing to go sprint after, is like, that's it, and that it's all perfect. Like it's a perfect, like Instant Epic was an appetizer that will set me up for the main course, got me way more comfortable on camera. I did a vlog before. Man, did that unlock me that enabled me to do Instant Epic. I did 52 days consecutive of doing a vlog where I just talked to the camera. And I was so shy before that. Got me right on my shell like that, right? And then I do Instant Epic, and it's like, it really hammered home like story fundamentals to the point where I can do it in 5 minutes, right? Give me some story elements, there's your story, bam, complete, right? So like, boy, did I just like hone that muscle. And like on top of it, I don't know, it was fun, you know? So like it prepared me. I don't know how it's going to prepare me going forward, but there will be a point in time, I'm creating it, that there will be a point in time where I will be dependent upon to just like pull a story out of something like that. And like, that's where I'll be able to look back and say, oh, okay, that's why I was so enrolled in Cinepic right there. That's what that was the toolkit that I just added to the pouch, you know, that was the utility belt. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's easy to beat myself up because it's like, you know, why isn't it here yet? Right? Like, why isn't the huge success and all the money I could possibly want and the da-da-da-da-da. And like the biggest thing I've got to learn, the biggest thing I'm learning now is just like patience and just like take a deep breath and like, just like easy, right? Just like know that it's on the way and just like enjoy the process, you know, instead of just racing to the good part, right? Like this is the good part now. This Zoom call is the good part. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, man.
I love how strong and positive your core belief is.
Thank you.
Like it's not many men have that. Not many people have that. Not many people can come out and say, my core belief is I can create anything I want if I put my mind to it. Not many people can say that. No. How did you build that? Or something you always had, or
it wasn't something I always had. There was a time where I was really depressed when I was about like 20 years old. And I just dove really, really headfirst into like a lot of personal development stuff, a lot of personal development in the form of like, you know, I did like the gateway drug of like Tony Robbins is like super accessible, right? Mm-hmm. And then like I started looking into like, I found Joe Rogan stuff to be really inspiring. And then I started looking into like plant medicines, and it all just kind of like started stacking on each other. Eventually, I started reciting this thing to myself every day, multiple times a day, probably 100 times a day. It's part of this auto suggestion where it was the equivalent of like if I etched it in marble on the inside of my brain. And it's so second nature to me that I can just rattle it off, and I'd be happy to do that right now. But what I would say to myself before bed, or while I was brushing my teeth, or I'm in the car, or I'm currently stressed or something, is I would say, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And I just would say that so much so that I could just rapid fire, I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. I'm whole, perfect. And it stopped being the words, and I would start to connect with like really like embodying each word as I said it, right? Like, I'm whole, like I'm completely whole. There's nothing missing here. There's nothing I gotta go fix, right? Like I'm perfect in the same sense. Like there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to change. I'm exactly like, you know, I might not be a bird. I might be a fish though. And damn, am I fucking good at swimming, right? So like I'm a perfect fish. You know, I'm not a finance guy, but like I can tell a story and I know how to like bring an audience in and like use a camera, right? And then like I'm strong, right? Like all the things I've survived up to this point, like I just connect to each one and I just like check off the box. Like I am that, like I am those things, you know, I'm whole, perfect, strong, I'm powerful. I'm having an experience right now as I'm showing up in my power right now on this call, like verified, check the box, complete, right? Whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, like the core, the purpose of why I want to get into film is like, you know, I've been doing all this men's work the last 2 years, and like, you know, to be able to give some of those insights through this father-son relationship is like win, 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 right? Like what a way to spread that impact in a way that like, man, like the ultimate goal, like I'm listening for fathers and sons to tune into the show together because it's like that badass of a show, right? Like they bond over this show and they can see themselves in the show and just like, fuck, man, I'm reading the fan letters like now, right? And just like, yeah, the last two, it's harmonious and happy. And harmonious meaning like I'm not trying to stop anybody else from doing their thing. It's a perfect balance with everything. Right, if somebody asks me for help with a children's book, for example, it's like I'm available for that. Like it's an ecosystem, right? Like I understand if I'm connected. And then to the same point, it's like, and what's the point of all of it if I'm not happy? And just connecting to like, if I, you know, like if there's anything that like, I'm happy that I'm on this path and I'm elated that like, that I'm just like where I'm at and I like wouldn't change a thing, you know, how fucked up that would be to like, it's interesting that I say that and it's like, well, who wouldn't want more money and everything, but like, or, you know, whatever, like you name the thing, there's things that we wish, but like, it would be boring if I just got it like that. And so like, I'm present to like, I chose this path and like, I couldn't be more happy with this path and all the highs and all the lows and all the uncertainty and all the certainty too. And just like, yeah, it's just a good place to be. So when I connect to that saying, it's just like, I have the experience of like polishing the plaque on the inside of my brain. And it's just like, that's written in Logan HQ up there, you know? So yeah, that's it.
I love it. I felt it. I felt it when you say it. I felt the energy coming through my computer, through my headphone. Like, whoo!
Damn.
I felt it.
Nice, great.
You embodied it perfectly.
That's it, man.
So that's what you use like 100 times, like 100 times a day.
100 times a day. I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And I say it to the point where it's second nature, where I don't have to like remember it anymore. And then once I've gotten to that step, then I really break down each one and I just focus on embodying each one, right? And it's to the point where when I just say it, I'm just immediately brought back to that state of like, I've got everything I need. Everything I need is within me, like right now, to do whatever I want. You know, I just have to get out of my own way.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
That is powerful. I think your mind is your best gift and most powerful tool you have.
Yeah.
And how positive. And I think you're blessed in your life, in this lifetime, you know, for a good reason, because you're here to give back.
Yeah.
With your talents. And with that, you were nurtured with all these positive things into you.
Man.
You know.
So blessed.
Such a gift you have from whoever is watching over you.
Man.
And because, you know, we talked about your father and your mom and your parents, basically. And I can't help but to think they really have something to do with who you are and how positive, how powerful your mind is. You know, that's just amazing. And that's just the purpose of this podcast, to inspire fathers to give this gift to their children, right? Just we might like, okay, this might be the best gift we can give to our children.
Yes.
For them to have a high self-worth, to have a positive internal conversation with themselves.
Yeah.
To have a strong, powerful core value and belief about themselves that they can do anything they want if they put their mind to it. Such a gift. I mean, and you're passing down this gift. You're amplifying the gift your father, your mother gave you to a million folds by doing the movies or the TV series you have. I'm just so proud of you, and so happy to have a friend like you.
Absolutely. Honored. Thank you.
Yeah.
Man.
And I'm just really hoping like parents get it. Just like, don't beat yourself, don't beat your kids up. Don't like kill their spirit. You know, just this is the right way. Look at Stone. Look at Logan Stone. This is the right way to do it. Why not? Like killing someone's spirit never helps to make them a better person. You know, or shame them with guilt. It just never works.
Yeah.
Never work for ourselves. Why do we do that to our kids? But I just see so many parents do that. You know.
Yeah.
And,
well, we get to be the example, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's us imparting that on our children and the children in our society, whether they're our kids or not.
Yeah.
And just adding to that voice of, you know, you can do it, right? More so than you can do it, but like, just it's really in being the example, you know.
Yes.
Just I think we're getting there.
Me
You
too.
know, I think it's more and more. Still more work to do, obviously, but yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, man.
Any last comments? Stuff you wanna?
Thank you for this opportunity. I truly get a lot out of this. I got a lot out of this tonight, and like I'm just excited about like, yeah, man. I'm just grateful for this. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that we have this container to have this conversation, and like I just, yeah, man. I learn a lot from the questions you ask and the looking that I do as a result of those questions. And I just, yeah, I appreciate you are a contribution. I hope you know that. And yeah, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see your book.
Oh man, me either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to finish 4 this year. Yeah.
Trying? Yeah.
I'm finishing 4 this year.
Yeah.
I'm aiming for that. I can do 4 books. I can do 4 books I want.
I love it. I love it.
put my mind to it.
Yeah, you can.
I'm excited.
Perfect.
All right, man.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is amazing, and I can't wait to do another podcast with you.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.
All right, man.